Welcome to What's in the Bible, a first-timer's journey, the podcast where I, a regular everyday person who has always known God but never fully known His Word, take you with me as I read through the entire Bible for the very first time. I'm not a preacher or a theologian, just someone who's finally diving into Scripture with fresh eyes and a lot of questions. I'll be reading from the One-Year Bible, which breaks the Bible into daily readings from the Old Testament, the New Testament, Psalms, and Proverbs. So grab your Bible or just listen along as we take today's next step on this journey through God's Word. Day 5. Genesis 11:1 through 13:4. At one time, all the people of the world spoke the same language and used the same words. As the people migrated to the east, they found a plain in the land of Babylonia and settled there. They began saying to each other, "Let's make bricks and harden them with fire." In this region, bricks were used instead of stone and tar was used for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let's build a great city for ourselves, the tower that reaches into the sky. This will make us famous and keep us from being scattered all over the world." But the Lord came down to look at the city and the tower the people were building. "Look," he said, "the people are united, and they all speak the same language. After this, nothing they set out to do will be impossible for them. Come, let's go down and confuse the people with different languages. Then they won't be able to understand each other." In that way, the Lord scattered them all over the world, and they stopped building the city. That is why the city was called Babel, because that is where the Lord confused the people with different languages. In this way, he scattered them all over the world. This is the account of Shem's family. 2 years after the great flood, when Shem was 100 years old, he became the father of Arphaxad. After the birth of Arphaxad, Shem lived another 500 years and had other sons and daughters. When Arphaxad was 35 years old, he became the father of Shelah. After the birth of Shelah, Arphaxad lived another 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Shelah was 30 years old, he became the father of Eber. After the birth of Eber, Shelah lived another 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Eber was 34 years old, he became the father of Peleg. After the birth of Peleg, Eber lived another 430 years and had other sons and daughters. When Peleg was 30 years old, he became the father of Reu. After the birth of Reu, Peleg lived another 209 years and had other sons and daughters. When Reu was 32 years old, he became the father of Serug. After the birth of Serug, Reu lived another 207 years and had other sons and daughters. When Serug was 30 years old, he became the father of Nahor. After the birth of Nahor, Serug lived another 200 years and had other sons and daughters. When Nahor was 29 years old, he became the father of Terah. After the birth of Terah, Nahor lived another 119 years and had other sons and daughters. After Terah was 70 years old, he became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. This is the account of Terah's family. Terah was the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran was the father of Lot. But Haran died in Ur of the Chaldeans, the land of his birth, while his father Terah was still living. Meanwhile, Abram and Nahor both married. The name of Abram's wife was Sarah, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah. Milcah and her sister Iscah were daughters of Nahor's brother Haran. But Sarah was unable to become pregnant and had no children. One day, Terah took his son Abram, his daughter-in-law Sarah, and his grandson Lot, his son Haran's child, and moved away from Ur of the Chaldeans. He was headed for the land of Canaan, but they stopped at Haran and settled there. Terah lived for 205 years and died while still in Haran. The Lord said to Abram, "Leave your native country, your relatives, and your father's family, and go to the land that I will show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you and make you famous, and you will be a blessing to others. I will bless those who bless you and curse those who treat you with contempt. All the families on earth will be blessed through you." So Abram departed as the Lord had instructed, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. He took his wife Sarah, his nephew Lot, and all his wealth, his livestock, and all the people he had taken into the household at Haran, and headed for the land of Canaan. When they arrived in Canaan, Abram traveled through the land as far as Shechem. There he set up camp beside the oak of Moreh. At that time the area was inhabited by Canaanites. Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, "I will give this land to your descendants." And Abram built an altar there and dedicated it to the Lord, who had appeared to him. After that, Abram traveled south and set up camp in the hill country, with Bethel to the west and Ai to the east. There he built another altar and dedicated it to the Lord, and he worshipped the Lord. Then Abram continued traveling south by stages toward the Negev. At that time, a severe famine struck the land of Canaan, forcing Abram to go down to Egypt, where he lived as a foreigner. As he was approaching the border of Egypt, Abram said to his wife Sarah, "Look, you are a very beautiful woman. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife. Let's kill him, then we can have her.' So please tell them you are my sister. Then they will spare my life and treat me well because of their interest in you." And sure enough, when Abram arrived in Egypt, everyone noticed Sarah's beauty. When the palace officials saw her, they sang her praises to Pharaoh, their king, and Sarah was taken into his palace. Then Pharaoh gave Abram many gifts because of her: sheep, goats, cattle, male and female donkeys, male and female servants, and camels. But the Lord sent terrible plagues upon Pharaoh and his household because of Sarah, Abram's wife. So Pharaoh summoned Abram and accused him sharply. "What have you done to me?" he demanded. "Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister and allow me to take her as my wife? Now then, here is your wife. Take her and get out of here." Pharaoh ordered some of his men to escort them, and he sent Abram out of the country along with his wife and all his possessions. So Abram left Egypt and traveled north into the Negev, along with his wife and Lot and all they owned. Abram was very rich in livestock, silver, and gold. From the Negev, they continued traveling by stages toward Bethel, and they pitched their tents between Bethel and Ai, where they had camped before. This was the same place where Abram had built the altar, and there he worshipped the Lord again. Matthew 5:1-26. One day as he saw the crowds gathering, Jesus went up on the mountainside and sat down. His disciples gathered around him, and he began to teach them. God blesses those who are poor and realize their need for him, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. God blesses those who mourn, for they will be comforted. God blesses those who are humble, for they will inherit the whole earth. God blesses those who hunger and thirst for justice, for they will be satisfied. God blesses those who are merciful, for they will be shown mercy. God blesses those whose hearts are pure, for they will see God. God blesses those who work for peace, and they will be called the children of God. God blesses those who are persecuted for doing right, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. God blesses you when people mock you and persecute you and lie about you and say all sorts of evil things against you because you are my followers. Be happy about it. Be very glad, for a great reward awaits you in heaven. And remember, the ancient prophets were persecuted in the same way. You are the salt of the earth, but what good is salt if it has lost its flavor? Can you make it salty again? It will be thrown out and trampled underfoot as worthless. You are the light of the world, like a city on a hilltop that cannot be hidden. No one lights a lamp and then puts it under a basket. Instead, a lamp is placed on a stand where it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your good deeds shine out for all to see, so that everyone will praise your heavenly Father. Don't misunderstand why I have come. I did not come to abolish the law of Moses or the writings of the prophets. No, I came to accomplish their purpose. I tell you the truth until heaven and earth disappear. Not even the smallest detail of God's law will disappear until its purpose is achieved. So if you ignore the least commandment and teach others to do the same, you will be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But anyone who obeys God's laws and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. But I warn you, unless your righteousness is better than the righteousness of the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. You have heard that our ancestors were told, "You must not murder. If you commit murder, you are subject to judgment." But I say, if you are even angry with someone, you are subject to judgment. If you call someone an idiot, you are in danger of being brought before the court. And if you curse someone, you are in danger of the fires of hell. So, if you are presenting a sacrifice at the altar in the temple and you suddenly remember that someone has something against you, leave your sacrifice there at the altar. Go and be reconciled to that person. Then come and offer your sacrifice to God. When you are on the way to court with your adversary, settle your differences quickly. Otherwise, your accuser may hand you over to the judge, who will hand you over to an officer, and you will be thrown into prison. And if that happens, you surely won't be free again until you have paid the last penny. Psalm 5, 1-12. O Lord, hear me as I pray. Pay attention to my groaning. Listen to my cry for help, my King and my God, for I pray to no one but you. Listen to my voice in the morning, Lord. Each morning I bring my requests to you and wait expectantly. O God, you take no pleasure in wickedness. You cannot tolerate the sins of the wicked. Therefore the proud may not stand in your presence, for you hate all who do evil. You will destroy those who tell lies. The Lord detests murderers and deceivers. Because of your unfailing love, I can enter your house. I will worship at your temple with deepest awe. Lead me in the right path, O Lord, or my enemies will conquer me. Make your way plain for me to follow. My enemies cannot speak a truthful word. Their deepest desire is to destroy others. Their talk is foul like the stench from an open grave. Their tongues are filled with flattery. O God, declare them guilty. Let them be caught in their own traps. Drive them away because of their many sins, for they have rebelled against you. But let all who take refuge in you rejoice. Let them sing joyful praises forever. Spread your protection over them, that all who love your name may be filled with joy. For you bless the godly, O Lord. You surround them with your shield of love. Proverbs 1:24-28. I, wisdom, called you so often, but you wouldn't come. I reached out to you, but you paid no attention. You ignored my advice and rejected the correction I offered. So I will laugh when you are in trouble. I will mock you when disaster overtakes you, when calamity overtakes you like a storm, when disaster engulfs you like a cyclone, and anguish and distress overwhelm you. When they cry for help, I will not answer. Though they anxiously search for me, they will not find me. Key themes from today's reading: Genesis 11:1-13:4. Tower of Babel and Abraham's journey. Tower of Babel. Humanity united by one language attempts to build a tower to reach the heavens. This act of pride and defiance leads God to confuse their language and scatter them across the earth. The call of Abram. God calls Abram to leave his homeland and promises to make him into a great nation. Abram obeys in faith, traveling to Canaan. Abram and Lot. Abram and Lot return to Bethel, where Abram worships God. The text sets the stage for their separation due to growing wealth. The Beatitudes, Matthew 5:1-12. Jesus begins the Sermon on the Mount by describing the blessings for those who live humbly, righteously, and compassionately despite persecution. Salt and light, Matthew 5:13-16. Jesus calls his followers to be the salt of the earth and the light of the world, preserving goodness and shining God's truth for others. Jesus and the law, Matthew 5:17-26. Jesus clarifies that he came not to abolish the law but to fulfill it. He intensifies the law, emphasizes internal transformation over external actions. For example, anger as equivalent to murder. Psalm 5:1-12, a prayer for guidance. David cries out to God for help, seeking protection from enemies and guidance in righteousness. Wisdom laments being rejected and warns of the consequences. But since you refuse to listen when I call, I in turn will laugh when disaster strikes you. Proverbs 1:24-26. This passage highlights the importance of heeding God's wisdom before it's too late. So I had a few questions that came to mind during today's reading. It's a shorter Q&A section today, but still worth unpacking because even quick questions can open the door to deeper understanding. So in today's reading, Genesis 11-13, we get the Tower of Babel story. That got me wondering, is this when people not only started speaking different languages, but also started looking different? Like skin tone, facial features, hair texture. Did all that start changing after Babel? This is one of those things a lot of us have probably wondered while staring at a globe or standing in the shampoo aisle seeing products for every hair texture under the sun. So here's the deal. The Tower of Babel story is mainly about languages. Humanity had one language, got a little full of themselves, built a tower to the heavens, and God said, yeah, no. So he scattered them and confused their languages. That's the big takeaway. Language, culture, and geography got split up. But what about physical traits? Skin color, eye shape, hair texture? The Bible doesn't say, and lo, one group got freckles and another had cheekbones you could cut glass with. So no, the Tower of Babel doesn't directly explain physical differences, but it set the stage. Here's how. Once people scattered and settled in different parts of the world, nature kicked in. You've got groups living near the equator, getting blasted with sun all year. Darker skin helped protect them. Up north, where it's cloudy 9 months a year, lighter skin helped folks get enough vitamin D. Same with eye shape, hair type, and other features. Over time, small changes added up based on climate, diet, and just good old genetic drift. And that's kind of beautiful, right? All that variety started from one man and one woman, Adam and Eve. Acts 17:26 backs that up. From one man, he made all the nations. So while Babel was the big language shuffle, the physical differences came later, gradually, naturally, and as part of God's design. Not a punishment, not an accident, just part of the plan to fill the earth with people who could thrive wherever they landed. And let's not forget the spiritual side of this. Genesis 1:27 says, we're all made in God's image. That's not about cheekbones or melanin levels. It's about our soul, our capacity to love, to create, to reflect his character. Also, just so we're clear, humans all share 99.9% of the same DNA. That other 0.1%, that's where you get the differences in whether your hair can defy gravity or frizz out when it rains. So no, Babel didn't give us accents and afros in the same moment, but it scattered humanity far enough apart that those things started to happen over time. And if anything, it's one more reason to see diversity as a gift, not a glitch. In today's reading from Matthew 5:1-26, Jesus says that even being angry with someone or calling them names can put us in danger of judgment or even hell. That really stopped me in my tracks. I mean, is Jesus seriously saying we can never get mad at anyone? Because that seems almost impossible for us humans. Even if we're saved and doing our best to live right, what happens if we still lose our temper sometimes? Let's look at what Jesus is really saying here. In Matthew 5:21-22, he starts by referencing the commandment, do not murder, but then takes it further. He says even being angry with someone or insulting them can put us in danger of judgment. Now, that doesn't mean all anger is automatically sinful. Even Jesus got angry sometimes, like when he saw injustice or hypocrisy. But his anger was always righteous, never impulsive or fueled by pride. What Jesus is warning about here is unchecked, bitter anger. That kind leads us to insult others or hold on to grudges. When that kind of anger takes root in our hearts, it reveals something deeper. It's not just about being frustrated for a moment, it's about letting that frustration fester into contempt. Now, for those of us who are saved and still struggle with anger, because let's be honest, we all do at times, this isn't about losing our salvation every time we snap. It's about recognizing when we've let our emotions get the best of us and doing something about it, confessing it to God, making it right with the person if we can, asking the Holy Spirit to help us respond differently next time. Jesus doesn't demand perfection, but he does call us to grow. He wants us to be people who don't just avoid murder, but who also value peace, reconciliation, and love in our daily lives. So the takeaway here isn't, you better never get mad. It's, don't let anger own you. Don't let it guide your actions or define your relationships. And if you do mess up, God's grace is still there, but we're called to keep growing towards something better. Next came the Beatitudes. First off, I actually looked up how to properly say this word because I knew I had to be saying it wrong. It's Beatitudes, not Beatitudes, like some kind of aggressive jazz band. The Beatitudes are the set of blessings Jesus kicks off with in the Sermon on the Mount, which you'll find in Matthew 5. They're all those blessed are the statements that kind of flip everything we expect upside down, like blessed are the meek, gets you the earth. Not the rich, not the powerful, nope, the quiet folks who keep their cool. Now the word Beatitudes comes from the Latin word beatus, which means blessed or happy. And that makes sense because each line starts with blessed are, though let's be honest, some of them sound more like blessed are than bummed out at first glance. But here's the twist. Jesus wasn't handing out feel-good fortunes. He was describing what it looks like to live in line with God's kingdom, the kind of heart God honors, the kind of posture that actually leads to real joy, even if it doesn't come with applause from the world. Also, in the original Greek, the word used is makarios, which I didn't look up how to say, and I hope I'm saying it right, which means a deep down, soul-level joy. Not just, yay, I found $5 in my coat pocket happy. We're talking about being favored by God, the kind of joy that sticks, even when things are hard. So in short, Beatitudes aren't just poetic one-liners. They're a roadmap to kingdom living, one that values humility over hype, mercy over revenge, and faithfulness over fame. And they remind us that when life gets tough for the right reasons, you're still on the right path. Because in God's kingdom, it turns out the overlooked, the hurting, and the faithful are the ones who are truly blessed. Our reflection prompts for today. Genesis. Humanity's pride at Babel led to division and scattering. Are there areas in your life where pride might be keeping you from unity with others or with God? Abram left everything to follow God's call. What might God be asking you to step away from in faith? Matthew. The Beatitudes describe blessings for humility, mercy, and righteousness. Which of these qualities do you feel called to cultivate in your life right now? How can you be salt and light in your relationships, community, or work? Psalms. David trusted God for protection and guidance. In what areas of your life do you need to rely more on God's direction? How do you start your day? Could you adopt David's habit of beginning the day in prayer and worship? Proverbs. Wisdom warns against ignoring her call. Are there moments when you've resisted God's wisdom? How can you better tune your heart to listen? Journaling ideas. Tower of Babel and pride. Write about a time when pride or self-reliance created division in your life. How can you turn that situation over to God? Living the Beatitudes. Reflect on one of the Beatitudes that resonates with you. Write about how you can apply it to your daily life. A quiet heart in a loud world. Think about a recent moment when you got angry, maybe with a family member, a coworker, or even a stranger. What triggered that reaction? Was it justified? How did you handle it? Now ask yourself, what would it have looked like to respond with patience or to seek peace instead? Write a short prayer asking God to help you recognize those moments sooner and to respond in a way that reflects His heart. Heeding wisdom. Reflect on a time when you followed God's wisdom and saw the benefits. How can you make seeking His guidance a regular habit? Actions for today. Pray the Beatitudes. Take a moment to pray through the Beatitudes, asking God to cultivate each of those qualities in your heart. Be salt and light. Perform one small act today to shine your light, whether it's encouraging someone, sharing your faith, or helping a neighbor in need. Seek guidance. Before making a decision today, pause to pray for God's guidance, using Psalm 5:8 as inspiration. Memorize a verse. Choose a verse from today's reading to memorize, such as Matthew 5:16. Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Key verse to meditate on, Matthew 5:14 through 16. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. What this means. Jesus is reminding his followers that their lives should shine in a way that points others to God. Just like you wouldn't hide a lamp under a bowl because that defeats the purpose, you also shouldn't hide your faith, your kindness, or the hope you carry. When you live it out boldly, it brings light to others. For today, this verse is a call to live with purpose and visibility. Whether it's how you treat people, the way you serve, or even the way you handle challenges, your life can reflect God's love. Not by being flashy or perfect, but by being faithful, compassionate, and unafraid to be seen. Thanks for joining me today. Whether something stood out or you're still just letting it settle, I hope this time in the Word sparked something new for you. And hey, if you've got questions of your own, don't keep them to yourself. It's about all of us learning together. Remember, every journey starts with a single step. See you tomorrow for the next one.